Anthony Boyd is one of the 40 men that have been executed in the US this year alone. In 1993, a body was found burned in a baseball field in Munford, Alabama. It was identified as 32-year-old Gregory New York Hoogley. A month later, police arrived at the home of 22-year-old Anthony Boyd to question him about the murder, and his mom begged him not to go with police. But he told her that everything would be fine because he wasn't involved and he had nothing to hide. Anthony never came back home. Anthony and 3 of his friends were charged for the murder. All of them were offered plea deals with the idea that someday they could be freed on parole, and if they didn't, they were threatened with execution. Only one of them, Dwayne Cox, took the plea, and in exchange, he became the key witness for prosecutors in each of the cases. Anthony couldn't afford an attorney, so he was appointed one, William Willingham, who occasionally dabbled in criminal defense. He later admitted that he didn't have the time or the resources to really prepare for this case, stating that he had to instead focus on better paying jobs. There was no physical evidence tying Boyd to the scene. The state's whole case rested on Cox's testimony. The theory prosecutors presented was that Hoogley stole $200 worth of drugs from Boyd. The 4 of them kidnapped him, where they took him to the baseball field, they duct taped him to a bench, and they set him on fire. According to Cox, Anthony was an accomplice, and he duct taped the victim's legs and feet to the bench. Cox's younger brother also testified, claiming that he overheard Anthony bragging about shooting the victim. But that story didn't add up. When they interviewed the medical examiner, he says that there were no traces of duct tape on the victim's legs, only his right forearm and his face, and the victim was burned alive, not shot. At the time of the murder, Anthony was allegedly at a birthday party that Cox was also at, but the attorney never called any witnesses to testify this. Still, he was sentenced to death in Talladega County, a place where half of the death row population is Black, even though Black people only make up a quarter of its residents. He spent 30 years on death row, and in 2018, they gave him 5 days to choose how he would die. He chose nitrogen gas, believing that this would be more humane. But after 5 people were executed in 2024 using this method, witnesses claimed that it looked like watching someone drown without water. In July, his attorneys challenged this method, saying that it went against the 8th Amendment's ban on cruel and unusual punishment. Boyd wanted a stay of execution and to change the method to a firing squad. The court denied it, and the case reached the Supreme Court. But this was also denied. Justice Sotomayor, Kagan, and Brown Jackson dissented, calling the execution unconstitutional. On October 23, 2025, Anthony Boyd was executed in Alabama. Witnesses say that he clenched his fist and gasped for air for 15 minutes until being declared dead at 6:33 p.m.